Hey guys, my name is Katarina Berry. I'm an empath. I'm on a mission of creating 30 videos in 30 days talking about who we are as empaths, what are some of our abilities, what are some of the challenges that we face, and how to put it all together and survive and thrive in the real world. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a psychic empath type, which is the clairvoyant empath, and the 16 signs that you might be a clairvoyant empath. Now, if you want to check out the video that I've made talking about all 4 types of psychic empaths, make sure to click that video. That should be showing up above my head at some point. And before we get started, I do want to invite you to subscribe to my channel. I'm kind of new to YouTube, but I'm on a mission to create content that helps empaths come into their power, that can help people understand empaths, whether it be their significant other or their kid or just some person that they care about that they know. And your subscription would mean so much to me, and it will allow you to stay connected to my videos. So make sure to consider subscribing. Now, without further ado, I'm gonna get started describing what the clairvoyant empath is. The clairvoyant empath receives their psychic information through either vision, whether it be vision of external environment, or inner vision, third eye vision, inner eye, mind's eye vision is another way of putting it. So this has a lot of ways that it can manifest. So let's get started and go through the 16 signs that I've identified that you might very well be a clairvoyant empath. One more thing before we get started. If you stick to the very end of this video, I'm going to share my personal experience with clairvoyance. We're gonna get started now. The number 1 sign is seeing flashes of light and color, seeing floating orbs. This can come in as just seeing different little orbs, different colors, seeing these kind of floating mid-air type of shapes, seeing things that other people are not seeing. So you're aware of that usually by other people not paying attention to it, or they're not going like, wow, look at this, what is that? But you are seeing it. So and this can be with light or with colors. This can be shapes. These can be kind of like different types of experiences. Sometimes it's very hard to describe. Sometimes it's very blatant and it's right there. Or sometimes it's very subtle and it's kind of like there, but you really have to kind of almost catch it when you're not directly looking at it. Number 2 is seeing people's auras. Now, this can manifest in different ways. Auras are not necessarily just seeing different like color type backgrounds, around people. This can also just kind of manifest as seeing people's radiance. Like, you're seeing people and then there's one person or several people that are just really kind of like standing out. It's almost like you're seeing light around them. And usually that happens when this person is living their truth. They're being truthful, they're being who they are, or they're talking about something they're very passionate about, or they're just in the elevated state of being, elevated state of mind. And you're able to pick up on that. They're either happy or they're helping people, they're in their genius, and you kind of pick up on that radiance, on that light, that glow around them. Some people also see kind of glow around pregnant women, and that's the thing, that's definitely part of that experience. That glowing can be a sign of a mother who is about to be mother, who is excited to be on this journey, and who is carrying another life within her. So that can kind of multiply the glow. And this can also manifest as just kind of seeing someone's, when someone's also depressed or negative or very angry, and you're just kind of seeing this cloud around them. There's no specific way or the right way of seeing it, but you're just kind of picking up on this vibe around them, and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I don't know if I'm ready to deal with this, or this person is really in a dark state. But some people do see actual auras, and they see different, different colors of these auras. So there's no right or wrong way. So this can manifest in different ways. Seeing auras is not necessarily just one way, or just like seeing colors around people. That's not the only way this can happen. So if it happens in a slightly different way for you, that's still valid. Number 3 is seeing kind of shadows midair, or seeing shapes, like maybe even faces, seeing these like that are not there like for an hour long. Maybe you just kind of see them and then they just kind of go away. Or maybe even seeing you know, certain shapes, certain figures in the clouds. This can manifest in different ways, and yes, we are, as humans, we're wired for facial and pattern recognition. So we will make out faces and figures out of any kind of pattern that we see around ourselves. But nonetheless, sometimes you really can observe presences that are not physical presences, but they're there nonetheless, and as a clairvoyant empath, you're able to pick up on them. Number 4 is seeing movement in the corners of your eyes. It may also feel like objects move, or you're just seeing this like something run across the room, or kind of light kind of switch, or the shadow kind of, you know, move around. And this can be kind of strange because it's not happening under a direct stare. It's happening from the corner of your eye, so you're picking up on it, but it's not happening when you're looking at it directly. This is part of clairvoyance, because there's a lot more that goes on than we're able to pick up with our normal 5 senses. And as a clairvoyant, your sense of sight is elevated, and you're able to see movement that might not even be taking place in this specific dimension, that might be taking place energetically. It might be energy moving, it might be a spirit, it might be another presence, it might be an overlay of another world or another dimension that you're sensitive to, that you're able to kind of pick up but not quite fully see. It's part of clairvoyance, so there's nothing wrong with that. Number 5 is daydreams. A lot of clairvoyant empaths, their daydreams are very important to them. They're not just daydreams, they're not just, you know, folly. This is how a lot of clairvoyant empaths are able to receive downloads and breakthroughs, are able to see and play out scenarios in their head that allows them to make a better, more educated decision. It's important as a clairvoyant to find enough time to daydream, because that's a lot of where your creativity might even come through. That's where you might get your next brilliant idea. That's where you might get the solution to the problem you've been working on for way too long. So daydreams are not just daydreams for clairvoyance. They are an important source of inspiration, solutions, and even brainstorming. And you, as a clairvoyant, should find enough time to engage in these daydreams. Number 6 is seeing how things should be. So when facing an obstacle or someone brings a problem to you, and you all of a sudden are just able to see how to solve it, you're not really, you then have to reverse engineer it to come up with steps for that solution, but you almost see the problem solved and how it looks like when it's solved, and what it means for other people. But a lot of that is visual, and then you can reverse engineer and come up with actionable steps to present to another person. But this is actually a very useful ability in work and in problems and in helping other people out. Number 7 is intuitive sense of direction. Some clairvoyant empaths can actually be pretty geographically challenged, but when they trust their intuition and they just kind of ask this inner wisdom of theirs, you know, where should I go? Like they're trying to get out of a traffic, or they're trying to find a perfect parking spot, or they're trying to you know, get somewhere in shorter amount of time. And instead of trying to logically figure out how to do it, if they trust their intuitive guidance and just kind of ask, they are able to navigate situations with incredible outcomes, and are able to find a random parking spot, are able to get somewhere like in 10 minutes less than they typically could. And the important thing about this though is it has to do with that inner vision. It has to do with asking that inner vision for guidance, and then whatever comes up, receiving that and taking action on it. So using that and then trusting it and doing it. So clairvoyant empaths are good to have when you're lost somewhere, or when you need to get out of a place or get to a place faster, because if they're able to connect to their intuitive genius, to their inner wisdom, they're going to be able to see visually how to do it without really looking anything up, and they're gonna, if they take action on it, it's gonna do wonders. Number 8 is visual arts affinity. So clairvoyant empaths are usually very sensitive to, they're usually, first of all, visual learners. So they're very good with visual representation of information. They're very good with charts. They're very good with mind maps. They're very good with visual presentations. They're very good with videos and pictures and symbolism. So visual symbolism. So they're usually very much in appreciation of visual arts, and again, this can be anything from painting to photography to videography to creating to creating like visuals, visual displays, fashion, any kind of visual art. There's so many different types, and they not only do they usually have affinity for these arts, they might even be creators. They might express themselves artistically through different visual arts, and they might draw, they might doodle. There's a variety of ways. They might become a serious artist, they might be a photographer, they might be a videographer, they might just dabble in some of these disciplines. But essentially that's part of who they are very largely, and it's a big influence. Colors and shapes and the expression of the visual, of the visions that they see is a big part of who they are as clairvoyant empaths. Number 9 is they're able to plan and visualize things in their head. So if you give them an idea or a problem or a thought, instead of creating a list or writing out a plan like a point by point, they're usually drawing it in their head. They're usually finding the solution by drawing it out in their head. They might even grab a piece of paper and a pen and just kind of like draw it out to put that thought on paper. But it's all visual, so they see things visually, they're able to solve problems visually, they're able to plan visually, and it starts with their inner vision. So they might just kind of look at the distance or look away, and while they're doing that, all of this is happening inside their head, but it's all visual. Number 10 is they are very imaginative, and they have a lot of imaginary friends. So with the imaginary friends, this can of course happen to a child more frequently than an adult. So if you are a parent of a child empath, or if you're connecting to your own inner child and remembering your childhood and remembering that you've had imaginary friends, that's very common for any kind of empath, but it's also very common for specifically clairvoyant empath, is being able to see your imaginary friends in detail, being able to see what they're dressed like, what their shape is, what they look like. They might not be human form type of imaginary friends, but you see what they look like as a child, and you see them there standing in front of you, and the adults might not be able to see them, but you see them and they're physically there, and it's like they're real. There's nothing that tells you that they're not real. So if you had these experiences as a kid, that's part of your clairvoyant psychic ability. If you have a kid that sees their imaginary friends, they have clairvoyant ability. So that's just part of the deal. Number 11 is having very vivid dreams. Clairvoyant empaths are usually very aware of their dreams. They usually remember their dreams more frequently than other people might, and they usually remember their dreams in vivid detail, and their dreams are extremely vivid. And sometimes clairvoyant empaths may struggle separating the dream from real life. The first moment when they wake up and their dream was so realistic and they remember so much of it, it's very hard to separate the reality that surrounds us from the dream. And in fact, science shows that our subconscious mind, which is not the logical reasoning mind, it's more of a creative idea, understanding, feeling type mind that just, perceives information as whether it's true or not true, and beliefs are also stored there. So our subconscious mind isn't really able to tell the dreams from reality. It's our rational mind that goes like, nope, that's my bed, that's my house, and I'm waking up, so that's the reality, and that was a dream. But the subconscious mind can't tell the difference. So this is actually, a relevant problem. And with a clairvoyant empath, because their visions are so strong, because their dreams are so vivid, because they're such visual people, they will sometimes almost not be able to tell if something happened or if they had just a dream about it, and it might take them a second to discern the two. But they can also learn a lot from their dreams. They can also learn a lot from that visual symbolism if they take time to analyze the dreams, to write them down, to maybe research some of the symbols, and to see how it applies to their life. So that can be a great source of inspiration, information, learning, and understanding self better. Number 12 is being able to see spirits. So this goes into kind of mediumship even. A lot of clairvoyant empaths will able to see ghosts or spirits of people who are deceased. They'll see a presence, they'll see, that might be like an actual shape. Or it can be just a glowing, or as I mentioned in the very beginning, like an orb, or just a slight difference in light and shadow. And that can be also disturbing to, especially to you when you're not accepting yourself for who you are. You're trying to suppress these visions, these psychic experiences. So it can be a little uncomfortable because you don't want to be stigmatized. You don't want people to make fun of you or discredit you or laugh at you or bully you, especially if you're like a teenager or a young adult. But essentially you're gonna have to accept who you are, because addictions or drugs, none of that will really help piece you together. You have to do it yourself. And once you accept who you are, you might realize that you can help a lot of people. You can do a lot of good with these talents that you have. You can help a lot of people out in helping them connect to the spirits of those who are no longer there. You may be able to help yourself. You may learn a lot from your ancestors, from the guides, from the angels that are there to help you. And if you're able to see their presence, that's a big talent. That's a gift. And though it can be hard to deal with, it's important to try to find a way to bring that home with you, to really accept that and embrace that. And the only way you can gain control over it is if you accept it first and then take conscious steps to manage this ability and to channel it into healthy ways of expression. Number 13 is seeing symbols and numbers in your mind or externally. So you can be picking up on different numbers that you see that are like 777 or 444 or 1111, or you can be seeing symbols, recurring symbols around you, in your mind, in your sleep, in your daydreams, or outside by like on actual cars or signs, or and you're gonna notice that no one else is seeing them. There might be actually physically there, but you're the only one paying attention. It's like for some reason it seems significant, like it jumps out at you. It's almost like there's a glow around it. It's like, I'm here, hello, I'm here for you, like pay attention to me. And if you do, and if you look up the symbology, if you take time to kind of really look into it, you might realize that it's extremely helpful. It's there for a reason. It's trying to convey a message to you, not it's trying to convey a message to you. It's almost like your higher self, your soul, is trying to make you aware of something that you might be either ignoring, or you're too upset or too angry to pay attention, or you're too in your ego to realize that something is going on that you should pay attention to and incorporate. So seeing this symbol, seeing these symbols, seeing these numbers is part of clairvoyance, whether they're coming to you internally through your inner eye, through your inner vision, or they're external, you know, all around you and you're just seeing them in certain moments. It's important to pay attention to these and to try to look into what they might mean and see how that can apply to your life, because a lot of times it will apply to your life in a way that you can't ignore, and if you pay attention, that might be extremely helpful and save you a lot of trouble. Number 14 is seeing mental pictures or movies. So this can manifest when someone's talking to you and you're seeing like a movie play out, or you're seeing visual images. Someone's talking about their child and you see this yellow dress, and like just very briefly, someone's talking about how their significant other has left them, and you're seeing like this dark window and rain. You know, it doesn't have to directly do with what someone's telling you or what you're hearing or what your situation that you're in, but these visuals are very essential. And what happens is you might be picking up on another person's thoughts in this way, because when we talk about an experience, even a memory that we're sharing with someone, our memories are very visual. So when we're talking about an experience, we might be talking about a heartbreak, but we remember that on that day we sat there and cried, and meanwhile there was a rain outside. And we were seeing it through a window. So that comes up when the person's remembering something that they're sharing with you. And so this is what you might be getting. You might just be getting what they're, you know, visually thinking about. Or yellow dress might be something that their child wore, and they're thinking about their child, and that's what comes up in their mind, and that's what you pick up on. So this can be a very interesting way to relate to people, but this really allows you to connect to what the person is conveying to you, and because visuals have emotional value to us, but we remember the symbology, the visuals, the colors, the moods have a lot to do with how we remember it visually. So connecting to the visuals through kind of the thoughts of others and picking up on these thoughts can be a very powerful way to understand another person and to really see where they're coming from visually and emotionally. Number 15 is having visions kind of overlaid. So you might be looking at something quite normal, static. You're in your room, you're out in the park, and you're just looking ahead of you, and there's nothing special going on. But you start kind of getting this visual where it's like overlaid. Like you're not really leaving the place, you're not closing your eyes, but you're seeing something else entirely. The best reference I can use is Dorothy from Wizard of Oz, when she wakes up after this hurricane and she opens the door, and all of a sudden she's like in a completely different world, but she's just leaving her house, which is still normal. So it can feel the same way, like you're still in a normal real world, so to speak, but all of a sudden you're surrounded by something else entirely, and you're having this vision unravel, and it's like the time freezes, the time stops. So it's important to pay attention to this. Don't get freaked out. This might happen frequently, or once in a blue moon, or once in a lifetime, but when it happens, it's usually something's being shown to you, something relevant to your path, something relevant to your purpose, something relevant to your learning or healing or understanding things in a more conscious way. So pay attention. Don't try to make it go away, because you just don't know what it is. Pay attention and see what you can see, what you can learn, and maybe even journal after that experience, and kind of see what you can learn from it by looking at it from a perspective of putting it down on paper and then kind of reading it and seeing what comes up. This can be a very transformative type of vision, and so it's important to stay with it and explore it and see what it can mean for you. Last one, number 16, is seeing images during conversation. So I talked about kind of picking up on seeing these little visions or like movies or visuals when you're talking to another person, that other person's remembering them. But you can also see kind of visions that are not coming from this other person's mind, but that are kind of like solutions, like some like glimpses as to what can help them, with the problem they're describing to you, what can liberate them, what can set them free, what can help them grow. You might be getting like visual clues as to what will help. You might be getting the person might be depressed and sharing that state with you, but you might get a visual of them, you know, on the beach, super happy, and you know that's not what they're talking about, but that might be a key. You know, if you share this, like, hey, you know, I'm kind of getting and of course not all the people will be receptive to this, but if you know a person enough, you can say, hey, I'm getting a vision of you on the beach. You know, have you maybe taken vacation in the last 5 years at all? And if not, maybe it's time. Maybe you just need to get away. Or you might get a vision of you know, them leaving a situation or doing so these can be kind of like they're kind of like psychic advice. These visuals can help solve the problem the person's presenting to you. And if it's happening in the business conversations, you're in a meeting, someone's describing a new market challenge, and you're sitting there listening to it, and all of a sudden you get this visual of this like brand new product or something, you know, you might have to take some time as to how to package it to present it to the rest of the team, because it might make some people uncomfortable with you going like, hey, I'm getting a visual of this new product. But essentially this might be a great opportunity that just came to you visually through your clairvoyant psychic ability. So pay attention to it and don't ignore it, because it can be a great way to solve problems and connect with people. Now, as I promised, I'm gonna relay a clairvoyant experience of my own. So I have a lot of these signs. I will get visuals to solve problems, usually to do with business relationships. I'll get a visual of a campaign, and I have a marketing company that is a one-woman operation so far, but that's a lot of what a lot of how my ideas come to me. I've also had visions when someone's describing something to me, talking about their significant other or situation, and I'm getting the visuals that they're thinking about that are related to that situation. And in a lot of ways, I'm able to see the presences. I'm able to see orbs sometimes. I'm able to see these kind of movements on the side of my eye. Daydreams, my night dreams are extremely vivid, so a lot of symbolism that I remember from my night dreams helps me learn about where I am in life and some of the lessons I should be incorporating into it. But the biggest experience that I want to share with you is actually from my childhood. I did have imaginary friends, I could see them, but the biggest experience that I can remember, and I can remember it, even though I wasn't even 5 years old, I was very, very small. I was in the stroller. My mom, we came back from a walk, and my mom was taking off her coat in a little like corridor area of our little apartment where all the coat hangers were, and you know, just kind of like where you took your shoes off. And it was winter time, and I was sitting in the stroller, and all of a sudden I saw a man standing there, and it was such a beautiful presence. It was like an amazing, he was like so kind, so radiant, so just caring. I felt this presence was so benevolent, and I was so excited to see him. And I was like, Mom, I don't remember what I said. I don't remember if I could even speak at that time, but I was like, Mom, look, man, or something like that. And she was like, what man? And she got really kind of freaked out. She was like, checked to make sure the door was locked. She couldn't see anyone there, but she was kind of like unsettled. She's like, what man are you talking about? There isn't supposed to be any man. Is he in our apartment? And I was like, no, look, it's right there. And then kind of it went away because my mom's panic, a little bit of panic. I was kind of got distracted, and then I couldn't see the man anymore. But she later asked me to point to maybe picture a description of this man. And my dad had this portrait of a spiritual master, of a saint, hanging in his study. And so that was the man. That was who I saw. So I showed her the picture. I knew who it was, but even